Excuse me. Well, good evening, members of council, members of management, to Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow, who is joining us via Zoom from her beautiful summer home, I believe in Eastern.
Yeah.
Okay. We also have Laura, Councilor Laura Elward, that's just en route, running a couple of minutes late, so she'll be joining us shortly. Also to the audience that have connected with us via the internet, we want to welcome you to our June 16, 2022 spring meeting. Now, you'd never say it was spring because we've had summer for a month here in Stephenville, Newfoundland. But officially, summer won't kick in till the 21st of June. Before I start this meeting, I would also like to do a land acknowledgement for Newfoundland and Labrador. We respectfully acknowledge the land on which we gather as the ancestral homelands of the Beothuk, whose culture has now been erased forever. We also acknowledge the island of Takmakuk, Newfoundland, as unceded traditional territory of the Beothuk and the Mi'kmaq. And we acknowledge Labrador as the traditional ancestral lands, homelands of the Innu, Netassinian, the Inuit, Nunatsiavut, and the Inuit of Nunatudabut. We recognize all First Peoples who were here before us, those who live with us, and the 7 generations to come. As First Peoples have done since the time immemorial, we strive to be responsible stewards of the land and to respect the cultures, ceremonies, and traditions of all who call it home. As we open our hearts and minds to the past, we commit ourselves to working in the spirit of truth and reconciliation to make a better future for all. Samogama. I would ask that we ask a member of council to approve the agenda as circulated.
I so move.
Moved by Councillor Myra White, second Councillor Lenny Tiller. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, approval of the minutes circulated from our previous May 19 minutes, which was a few weeks back. We got off schedule. Majority, a quorum of our council had an opportunity to take in the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference in Regina. It was well attended. It's the first time in person for a couple of years coming out of COVID, but it was very beneficial to council to be there, listening to the workshops, the guest speakers, meeting the vendors that provide services to municipalities from BC to Newfoundland. So I would ask somebody to move that we approve the minutes as circulated. Moved by Councillor Tracy Boland, second.
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Tristan Newland, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Matters arising from those minutes? If there are no matters, we will move on to proclamations and delegations. Mr. Manager, I don't believe we have any tonight.
Nothing tonight.
Thank you, sir. Okay, committee reports, number 5. I'm going to turn the committee report over to our Chair of Finance, Councillor Myra White.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. First item on the Finance Committee, remission of tax, was a recommendation of the Finance Committee that remission of tax in the amount of $2,037.83 and refunds of $481.40 be approved. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Myra White, seconder.
Second.
Second, Councillor Lenny Tiller, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item number 2, business tax, was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that the business tax adjustments in the amount of $738.75 and refunds of $738.75 be approved. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Myra White, seconder. Second, Councillor Tristan Newland, all in favor.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item number 3, expense check listing for May 2022. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that the expense check listing for May totaling $369,614.32 be approved. I so move.
It was a recommendation from Councillor Myra White. Welcome, Councillor Laura Aylward. Moved. I would ask for a seconder for the motion. Second, Councillor Lenny Tiller. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Councillor Aylward. Welcome.
Thank you. I don't, any extra agendas, guys?
Got one for you.
Item number 4,
Thank you.
accounts payable listing for May 2022. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that the accounts payable listing for May 2022 totaling $263,740.00 be approved. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Myra White, seconder. Second, Councillor Tracy Boland. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item number 5 is a request for grant for 102 to 106 Main Street. It was the recommendation of the committee that the town of Stephenville will provide a grant to the Business Improvement Association for Kin Square, located at 102 to 106 Main Street, in the amount of $39,000. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Myra White, seconder.
Second.
Second, Councillor Laura Aylward. Before I call for a vote, I'd just like to have a drink of coffee for a moment here. Yeah, on this motion, I just want to say that Stevensville is a better place because of the work that was done by many to make our town square what it is today. It's roughly expenditures about $1 million. 3 major players into that was the town of Stephenville. I believe we paid the most towards that town square. The provincial government and the federal government through a COA. But also it was the leadership of the BIA in the town of Stephenville that helped drive this. But also as equally important was the sponsors that came on. And the major sponsor was the Kinsman Club. And therefore it is called Kin Square. But in the first year of operation, we realized that there is a heightened demand for the public for higher utilization. With that requires a lot more work towards managing that facility, ensuring that the standards and safety are kept up. So with some leadership from our town manager, meeting with the BIA, and Tristan, you're our representative on the BIA. The BIA decided to transfer the property to the town of Stephenville, and we would then manage it through our public works, through our management. It's my belief that we have the resources, the horsepower, if you will say, and the abilities that the facility would have a higher utilization rate, higher activities, and it would be the role of our economic development office and event planning and so forth. At the end of the day, this benefits everybody, all residents, all citizens, and more importantly, also too, or not more importantly, but equally important, is the businesses of Main Street. The more heightened activity we have in that facility to draw people to our town will actually support trade on Main Street and other areas of town. So I think it's a great move. So on that note, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item number 6, a request for grant, walkaways, parks and trails. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that the town of Stephenville give a grant in the amount of $15,000 to the walkaways, park and trails. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Myra White, seconder. Second, Councillor Lenny Tiller. Before I do call for the vote, I just want to say another stellar community group, the Walkaway Trails. We have some of the nicest walking trails in the province. We have approximately 20 kilometers of trails that actually traverses some very unique ecosystems. We're very fortunate in the town of Stephenville to have two rivers that are teeming, not teeming like they used to be, but still at times teeming with Atlantic salmon, brown trout. But those ecosystems in the past took a heavy hit environmentally because of deforestation, the building of the air base. And most river systems require a habitat to keep the waters cool. And most river systems cutting and defoliating, that's probably not the appropriate word. Let's just say cutting the alders. That's even better. Okay.
That we
That,
understand.
Actually has adverse effect to the environment and to the ecosystem and to those salmon. But our walkaways trails, they really do the work. A lot of great volunteers with forestry and conservation background. And I tip my hat to them for all the work they do. So on that note, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item number 7, award of a tender, lease backhoe 2022. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that the town of Stephenville award a tender for a backhoe lease to lowest bidder Brandt Tractor for the monthly lease price of $3,168.07, HST included. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Myra White, seconder.
I'll second.
Second, Councillor Tristan Yulin. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item number 8, the award of tender for asphalt. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that the town of Stephenville award tender for asphalt to the lowest bidder, Western Paving Limited, for the following prices. Asphalt only, $180 a ton. Asphalt recapping under 500 ton, $245 a ton. Repairs prepped by bidder, $385 a ton, and repairs prepped by town, $255 a ton. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Myra White, seconder.
Second.
Councillor Tracy Boland. Just want to say, when we put a motion on the table and it gets approved for fixing potholes and bad roads, there's not many people that's not unhappy about that. You know, so I've often said, if you were, I think anyways, maybe I'm wrong, but if you were to poll residents of most municipalities, potholes and asphalt is one of the biggest concerns.
Topic, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, with what's happened with COVID over the last few years and the pressures and on healthcare, I do believe that family doctors and the provision of healthcare services is on par with potholes. Just saying. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 9, a request for grant, Royal Canadian Legion, Retention, Western Health. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee, Town of Stephenville, approve a grant in the amount of $90,000 to the Royal Canadian Legion to deliver program benefits for Western Health Retention Program benefits. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Myra White, second by
Second.
Councillor Tracy Boland. Oh, sorry, Susan.
I can't win this race at all. That's all right.
I'm telling you what, when you're on the East Coast and we're on the West
Just
Coast, you know, we got a saying, West Coast, Best Coast. Okay, so we do have a seconder. I'd just like to speak on that, and maybe I could ask Councillor Laura Aylward to just kick in if I get something wrong. But to date, we have had much success with our recruitment of family doctors. We have, at this point, had 3 family doctors that have signed in to our recruitment package. And next week, actually arriving, I believe, on Sunday, and they have reached out to us in the past. We have a doctor and nurse team couple that are here on vacation, and they're meeting with the town council and members of Western Health, Dr. Hatandi. And it's my hope that we may have the 4th doctor looking at coming to Stephenville. And in our budget submission previous to this meeting, we had allocated for 5 positions. So We got 3. Let's hope that we can convince the husband and wife team that Stephenville is the place for them. I do believe Dr. Hatandi practiced in British Columbia, but he also had an added role where he was directly involved with recruiting physicians. And that would be a real bonus for us here in Stephenville. I'm sure if you were in that role, you have friends into that fraternity that you can reach out to.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So.
Who knows, yeah.
We got motion, a seconder, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item number 10 is the adoption of the consolidated financial statements for the period ending December 31st, 2021, and the annual expenditure report, local government tax funding agreement for the year ended December 31st, 2021. Was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that the consolidated financial statements for the period ending December 31st, 2021, and the annual expenditure report, local gas tax funding agreement for the year ended December 31st, 2021, be adopted? I so move.
Moved by Councilor Chair of Finance, Councilor Myra White, seconder. Second, Councilor Tracy Boland, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item number 11 is the adoption of the tax recovery plan for the year ended December 31st, 2021. That the recommendation of the Finance Committee be accepted and the adoption of the tax recovery plan for the year ended December 31st, 2021 be approved. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, seconder.
Second.
Second, Councilor Laura Aylward, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
I think I'm going to excuse myself for the next.
Yes. Okay, we'll let you up and we'll let you back in due course, Councilor Boland.
Item number 12 is the request for grant from the Stephenville Airport Corporation. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that the town of Stephenville give a grant to the Stephenville Airport Corporation in the amount of $30,963 for June operations expenses, plus an additional $19,037 for June Wasco contract fees, for a total amount of $50,000. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, seconder.
Second.
Second by Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow. Question.
I'd like to call for an
Yeah.
amendment. I don't know if I can do that, but I'd like to call.
Yes,
for
you
an amendment under, Section 203 of the Municipalities Act of the State of Council may encourage economic development as it considers appropriate, and for that purpose may enter into an agreement with another municipality, local service district, agency, person, or the government of the province. In this section, economic development means the contribution, expansion, or establishment of a business or industry. So I'd like to amend the motion as it's presented to read that we give the Stephenville Airport Corporation a $50,000 interest-free loan repayable at the time of sale, should it be sold, just because this economic is very gray of what that means and the purpose. Sometimes for economic development and the advancement of economic development, you would give a loan.
Yeah, just for a point of order on that, under the Municipal Act, we're not permitted to give loans. We're not a loan agency, and it's in the Municipal Act, in the regulations, we can only give grants. This was actually something that was tabled at the previous council. It was discussed at one point. The council actually had given a loan, I believe it was to one of our community groups, the STF or the W. Cormac, but actually they were in violation, and that was validated by our previous council. So that amendment to the motion would not be accepted because it would be in contravention of the Municipal Act. We're not a loan agency. We're not a CBDC or a chartered bank or a credit union. We're not permitted to issue loans.
Fair enough. There is a section, I wish I brought it with me, that says we are permitted to give loans to parks and recreations or commissions that we own or take care of. So I thought under economic development, where you could give a loan to them, you might be able to do the same thing here.
No,
So my apologies, Mr. Mayor, for being in order, but that's what I'd like to see, so I'm probably gonna have to vote that. I do have another recommendation, as it has been said publicly by the purchaser, that we could be a day or so away from a deal here. So if we are, I mean, we might be just talking the middle of June. So would it make any sense at this point to amend it to a lower amount of a grant to maybe 35,500? And then if they have to come back to us at the end of the month and say it's still not done and we can revisit it then?
well, I guess if I could just add to that, Counselor, it's a good question and it makes some valid points. But as the liaison on the board, the operational component of this 50,000, which is approximately 30, was actually really needed from an operational or to do payroll and so forth to carry them. They are, from what I understand, just days away. And we have Mr. Carl Diamond arriving here on Monday. There's a board meeting on Tuesday that's taking place that could be a very significant meeting with a vote that could take place. And it's always suspect to, is it going to happen? Is it going to be carried and so forth? But the other approximately 20 is for the Wasco contract. Wasco is under a contract with the Stephenville Airport Corporation. And that contract would then turn over to the Diamond Group should he wish to continue with it. So the airport authority has to give notice to Winnipeg that because they're selling the airport and they will be coming, closing their incorporation by the end of the fiscal year, they would have to terminate. So as a liaison to you and council, this was the bare minimum they needed to carry them. And it's my hope it's the last time that we're going to have to do an expenditure on the airport. We did do a motion at a previous meeting that we did write out the taxes up until the closure of the deal. And we've done that for 20 years. But those days are over. And basically, based on our tax regime, based on what we've been putting into the airport on an annual basis, the minute this airport transfers, within 365 days, you're $500,000 to the good at the town of Stephenville. So it's very beneficial from us and the taxpayers that there's a new set of legs, a new business model, a new entity that's going to attempt to turn that airport around. We haven't been able to do it as a local airport authority. And we've supported it, and thank God we have, because with business prospects on the horizon and the trajectory for growth in this town, that airport will become more of an important player for the growth of business and our citizens in the future, maybe than it ever has. So on that note, that was the bare minimum they needed to carry them until this transfer.
And I'll just be clear, I'm not against the Stephenville Airport or the purchaser not buying the airport. I wish him all the best of luck if he does buy it. If he doesn't, the plan. But I've always, and I remember in 2020, it popped up on my Facebook the other day when the Wasco contract went through. And I wrote everybody on that council saying, you have to support this. We have to get to this point. But at this point, and given what we budgeted on, and we thought this would be done by the end of December, and yes, these things take time, but I guess when we budget on a timeline and we don't follow through and things happen, we don't budget for air. So we are quite over budget on this file, and I understand it. So for that reason, it will be a no from me for to give them any more money, just for that simple fact that we are well over budget on that line item. So it's a no from me, but I respect everyone's opinion.
Okay. So we do have a motion, a seconder. I will call for the vote. I will require your vote once I call it again. Okay. Should we decide to yay or nay on the vote? So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contramine?
Aye.
Okay, note for the town manager, 1 contramine, and motion carried. we can ask Councillor Tracy Boland to return to the table. What's the agenda today, Councillor?
Yeah. I think it is every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, item number 13 is the request for sponsorship luncheon, Cross Canada Tour National Association of Automobiles. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that the town of Stephenville sponsor a luncheon for the Cross Canada Tour of the National Association of Automobiles, an event in the amount of $2,100. The event will take place in Stephenville on July the 6th, 2022. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Meyer White, seconder. Second, Councillor Lenny Tiller. Just before I do call for the vote, I just want to say that we have a very active antique automobile club in Stephenville. And I guess when you think about the Joe McNeil car collection, it's very signature to have so many Model Ts and Model A's, and he's got such a fleet of 100-plus-year-old vehicles. It's amazing, and it's something we've talked about many times as a council. Never dug in to get it done, but the timing may come maybe in the term of this council. But we need a new museum, and because we have such a unique car collection in that museum, we have so much history from our French, our U.S. Air Force, our Acadian roots, the Joe McNeil car collection. It would be a museum worthy of an educational tours from schools for tourists, as a venue site for events that would happen, as a signature. Like I remember attending events in Ottawa, would be at the museum of the Air Force Museum in Ottawa, and your catering would be there, your music would be there, and that's where you would wine and dine. But the setting was so right. So maybe that's something that we can dig in as a council and over the winter from a budgeting perspective, utilize management, put them to work to find how they can find some federal provincial money. Pound on the shoulders of our MHAs and MPs to say we want our fair share. And we're steeped in history with culture, so maybe it's time in the new year for us to look at a new museum. So on that note, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 14 is it's the approval of workplace health and wellness policy. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that the town of Stephenville adopt a workplace health and wellness policy. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Myra White, second. Second, Councillor Tracy Boland. Just want to say it's always fitting that we're moving in this direction. Becoming a healthy community has many aspects. A healthy community, both mentally and physically, benefit each other. When we invest in walking trails, that helps our community. When we have services like the YMCA, our Stephenville Dome, Stephenville Aquatic Center, our ball diamonds, and steeped in history of baseball, and Councillor Tracy Boland, your dad, is in the Newfoundland Hall of Fame. And there are many reasons for that. And it's because of the influence of the Americans here in the 1950s and 60s. They really were into baseball. Obviously, it's their national sport. But hockey is ours. But in Stephenville, there was phenomenal athletes that played baseball. And when your dad to be commended on his acceptance to the Hall of Fame. But so when we move for internally, and when we try to help the community, but when we try to help our own staff and employees, it shows that we're on the right path for leadership, because health and welfare of our citizens is paramount. So on that note, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Item number 15 is approval to amend travel policy. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that the town of Stephenville approve the travel policy as amended. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, seconder. Second, Councilor Lenny Tiller, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item number 16, an approval to sign agreement, a COA regional economic growth through innovative program. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that the town of Stephenville sign an agreement with Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency under the regional economic growth through innovative program for Rediscover Main Street initiative. This was cost shared program with a COA funding 80% and the town of Stephenville's share of 20%, totaling $31,261. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Myra White, seconder.
Second.
Second, Councilor Aylward. Made a note of that. This is an initiative that ACOA has provided to Atlantic Canadian municipalities and agencies. It's to support the growth of trade on Main Street. It's also to help hire musicians and so forth. Musicians took a hard hit for 2 years.
Yeah.
And the arts community is very important to every community. But I'd also like to recognize the efforts of our manager, Colin. I know this came on your lap fairly quickly and you only had a couple of days to get the submission in. But to garner 80% of this significant contribution for our town, that's going to help our musicians, our Main Street, our pedestrian malls. It's very, very beneficial to our town, and we commend you on your work on this. So on that note, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, is there anything, Lee?
I hope not.
Well, you know, it was a long agenda, but remember, we had to adjust our meeting schedule. So our previous meeting was almost 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
the
been a
reason.
while.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn it over to, do you want to handle it now? I was gonna hand it to Tristan, but you got it now, you're here. So you got the chair.
Yes, I guess I'm stuck with it, right?
Yeah. And, it is pretty long, I just want to say.
If I stutter, you can.
Oh,
pick
yeah,
it up.
I'll pick up the slack.
Yeah, what's that you got there?
That's a late item.
That's a late item for the planning.
Okay, all right. Okay, the Planning and Traffic Committee for this meeting, it's, I think it's June 16th, right?
This June 16th, yes it is.
Anyway, a long one this time, Mr. Mayor. Planning and Traffic, 9345 Little Port Harmon, Paul O'Reilly in brackets. Request for a permit to operate an Airbnb from the property located at 9345 Little Port Harmon. It was the recommendation of the Planning and Traffic Committee that this request for a permit be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations and approvals of service Newfoundland Labrador. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Lori Aylward, seconder. Second, Councilor Lenny Tiller, all in favor.
Aye.
Did I hear an aye from Susan?
Yes.
Okay. Aye. Okay.
Where is she anyway?
She's at her cabin on
Oh.
the East Coast.
On the East Coast. No. Let me see. 19 Oregon Drive, Acadian Hotel. Request for a permit to install a 30 by 60 inch business sign at rear of building and add additional parking stalls at front of business located at 19 Oregon Drive. It was the recommendation of the Planning and Traffic Committee that this request for a permit be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations. I so moved.
Moved by Councilor Lori Aylward, seconder.
I second.
Second, Councilor Myra White. I just want to say that this was the former Hotel Stephenville. We had a expatriate Newfoundlander that been away for over 30 years that purchased the hotel and put significant upgrades into that hotel. I think it's in excess of $1 million was spent in that hotel. And for those of you who haven't been there or seen the rooms or the executive suites, it's worthy just to see them. But it actually increases our ability for high quality accommodations in the town of Stephenville. We have come home year this year, but with the growth of our community, I have no doubt we'll probably see other establishments coming. But I do want to recognize our support for such a capital investment in the Stephenville.
Yes, yes,
And it's just so great to see.
it is, Terry.
So on that note, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
120 Carolina Avenue, 10503, Newfoundland Limited. Request for permit to repave front section of asphalt, 40 by 30 feet, and pave new section, 50 by 9 feet, as per sketch submitted on the property located at 120 Carolina Avenue. It was the recommendation of the Planning and Traffic Committee that this request for a permit be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Laurie Aylward, seconder.
Sorry. Missed the, no. We're good.
Okay. Second?
I'll
Second, Councillor Tristan Yule. Just want to say on this one, that was Rizzoli's Inn, correct?
Yes.
Another great investment by a local entrepreneur. Took the former Rizzoli's nightclub, turned it into an inn. And I see on the sign that it's going to be opening soon. Another great thing for whether you're professionals coming in or students or somebody looking at short-term rentals. It just shows that we have some capacity and added capacity for the town. And I believe we're really going to need it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
19 Oregon Drive, Acadian Hotel, request for a permit to repair asphalt rear building located at 19 Oregon Drive. It was the recommendation of the Planning and Traffic Committee that this request be, I don't know why for a permit it's there, that this request for a permit be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Laurie Aylward, second. Second, Councillor Tracy Boland, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
139-169 Queen Street, Waits Construction. Request for outline planning permission as per letter attached to construct 150 to 200 unit seniors complex on land located at 139-169 Queen Street. It's a recommendation of Planning and Traffic Committee that request for outline planning permission be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations and approval of Service Newfoundland and Labrador. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Laurie Aylward, second.
Second.
Second, Councillor Tristan Yulin.
Nice
Just
to
want to
see.
say on this one, very nice to see.
Yes, yeah.
We hear it in this town and every town, we have an aging population. And we're living older, and the older we get, you know, taking care of a residence and all the things that come with it is not easy anymore, you know, for certain people as we age and our life expectancy is increasing. Now, I'm not saying anybody around the table is in that category because we have a very, very vibrant council, young and active, vibrant council.
We're very
Don't
proud.
dig too deep now.
But
We're very proud.
to see the scale of this development, 150 to 200 units. What we've noticed too, because Stephenville is a service center of about 25,000 people, that all the services from hospital to optometrists to shopping, all those extra services, chiropractor, you name it, that people from outlying areas, especially with the price of gas, and if there's not a Tim Hortons somewhere, they might say, hey, let's go to Stephenville because it's to run a vehicle with gas in it nowadays at over $2.30 a liter, very expensive. So I think there's a demand for this. This company has looked and spoke to council before on a couple of opportunities, but I think the timing is really good now for this company. So this is the start, outlining planning approval. They will then work with our management team And the full renderings of what it will look like will come back to council before we approve anything.
You know, bodes well for a lot of reasons. The fact that a lot of people are going to be employed with the construction and all that kind of stuff and the building supplies.
Yeah.
People and all that stuff. And the final analysis in the end, it will be most beneficial to seniors.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see local entrepreneurs
Yes, absolutely.
jumping in.
Local, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
they got their feet on the ground and,
they do.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Aye.
Item number F, Annual Pride Parade, Bay St. George Pride Committee. The Bay St. George Pride Committee is requesting permission to host Pride Parade Sunday, June 26, 2022. The parade will depart from Killick Cafe on Main Street and proceed to Main Street and Queen Street, then turn onto St. George's Avenue and end at the Lions Club on Woodland Drive. Was the recommendation of the Planning and Traffic Committee that this request for a permit be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Roy Edwards, second Councilor Tracy Boland. Just before I call for a vote, I just want to say that our community is ranked as one of the most inclusive communities in this province. There's many reasons for that, but it just goes to show that leadership, our social values are in some ways ahead of where other places should be. And it's just nice to see the support that we have of being an inclusive community. That note, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And they've assured us that search and rescue will be
Yes, for security.
available for security. I hope they have a nice day for it. Minnesota Drive Stephenville Shooting Club. Request for a permit to construct a pistol range 10 by 36 feet to be utilized as a shooting platform on the property located at Minnesota Drive. It was the recommendation of Planning and Traffic Committee that this request for a permit be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations and approval of Service Newfoundland and Labrador. I so move.
Councilor Aylward, I think I'm going to step out of the room because I sit on the executive.
Okay,
So if you could chair the meeting, I'll step out and I'll come back in when you guys have made a decision. Okay.
okay. So
Sorry.
do we have a seconder on the motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moved. Come on in, Tom. Come on in, Tom.
We gotta get a red light or a buzzer or something, put it beside the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bang the gavel. Summon them in. Yeah.
That was quick. And now, next one is 76 Main Street backyard liquidation. Request for a permit to complete exterior renovations and signage at front of business located at 76 Main Street. It was a recommendation of the Planning and Traffic Committee that this request for a permit be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Roy Edwards, seconder.
I second the
Councilor
motion.
Myra White, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried.
57 Prince Rupert Drive, 72351, Newfoundland and Labrador Incorporated. Zero, is that zero or no, it's OA Reliable Ambulance Service. Request for a permit to operate an ambulance business on the property located at 57 Prince Rupert Drive to accommodate an ambulance base and storage of ambulance vehicles. It was the recommendation of the Planning and Traffic Committee that this request for a permit be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations and approval of Service NL. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Roy Edwards, second.
A second.
Second, Councilor Tristan Newland, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried.
That's the, what used to be Russell's?
Yes.
Yes. 1014 Utah Drive, Newfoundland Power. Request for a permit to dig hole to install new flagpole on the property located at 1014 Utah Drive. It was the recommendation of the Planning and Traffic Committee that this request for a permit be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations. I so move.
Moved by Council Lori Aylward, second. Second, Council Tricia Newman. I sure hope they call before they dig, because for
Yeah.
everybody else that gets a permit, you gotta call them before you
Yeah.
dig. So let's hope complacency doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Public work.
Yeah.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
2 Wheelers Road, Knowles Pond, Melbourne, Olson. Request for a permit to operate a mini band sawmill for personal use on the property located at 2 Wheelers Road, Knowles Pond. It was a recommendation of the Planning and Traffic Committee that this request for a permit be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations. I so move.
Moved by Council Laura Aylward, seconder. Second, Council Lenny Tiller, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried.
7 Walsh Avenue, John, Oregon, request for a permit to construct a fence as per sketch submitted on the property located at 7 Walsh Avenue. It was a recommendation of the Planning and Traffic Committee that the request for the permit be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations. I so move.
Moved by Council Laura Aylward, second. Second, Councilor Tracy Boland, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
5761 West Street, Lannon Holdings Incorporated. Request for a permit to construct a chain link fence at rear of building as per sketch submitted on the property located at 5761 West Street. It's the recommendation of the Planning and Traffic Committee that this request for a permit be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations. I so move.
Moved by Council Laura Aylward, seconder. Second, Councilor Tristan Newland, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
We have a late item. Let it be resolved that the town of Stephenville sign a letter of intent with the Greater Newfoundland Partnership to support the initiative to provide $10 million to develop.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in conflict here.
Okay. Noted. Councillor Boland has left the room as per conflict. Let it be resolved that the town of Stephenville sign a letter of intent with the Greater Newfoundland Partnership to support the initiative to provide $10 million to develop fire services. I so move.
Moved by Council Laura Aylward, seconder.
I second.
Council Meyer White, just a question on that, as your liaison on the airport authority, as they are getting very close to sign the transfer deal with the airport authority requested that the town receive a legal opinion before we sign a letter of intent on a corporate guarantee. And that came from the legal team on the side of the airport corporation. So it's due diligence on their side, but it's also due diligence on our side. Noting that our legal opinion came from our lawyer to sign, that it would be permissible for us to sign, but also noting that there are no financial constraints on us for any of this $10 million. So remember, we often say that once the airport transfers, we have the power of a tax regime to garner taxes on that enterprise. So on that note, any other question?
I'd like to say something to it, just, I said it on Tuesday, I'm gonna say it again, I don't feel a letter of intent, which is said in the legal opinion, is not legally binding for us, but it's also not legally binding for him. So we are that close to the deal. And if the airport is sold and all we have is this letter of intent is not legally binding by anybody, I feel that there would be no reason for him to even negotiate with us to give us a corporate guarantee, because he already has what he needs, and that's the airport. And we talked about it Tuesday, we'll talk about it here again tonight, but we signed a letter of intent. We're not legally responsible, perfect, but neither is he. So if the airport gets signed and all we have is a letter of intent, nothing stops him from saying, okay, goodbye, no more 10 million for your fire hall, because we do not have a corporate guarantee certificate signed in our hands that says it's ours. So if that's what triggers the airport sale, we may never see the 10 million. We would have no reason to know. I hope he be a man of his word. I don't know the man very well. I would hope with a letter of intent would be enough. I mean, I come from the back country, just like Tom does, and a handshake sometimes is good enough. But when we're dealing with this, I don't know if it is. So I am not comfortable voting on signing of a letter of intent in case it does trigger the airport sale, which we all want. But before the airport is sold, I think we need concrete, a corporate guarantee certificate in our hands that gives us some kind of legal ramification if, God forbid, this doesn't work. I want it to work out. I hope it works out. But we also have to look at if it doesn't, we need some kind of ramification to make sure the taxpayers have what was promised to them. And that was the sale of the airport, which is excellent, and a fire hall for up to $10 million, which is perfect. And that's what they expect. And that's what I'm afraid is not going to happen out of this if we just have a letter of intent when the airport is sold. I think we need a corporate guarantee in our hands. We need the security there, because this way there puts a lot more risk involved of never seeing it at all, when a corporate guarantee would give us a chance to see it.
Okay, a couple of things that I just want to say on that is that you mentioned a handshake. Actually, a handshake can be held in the court of law as a legal with witnesses.
So that would hold more weight than the letter of intent.
But a corporate guarantee from a company that's going to actually transfer millions into an airport that actually is in debt. It has infrastructure that's collapsing. It's in need of multi-millions of dollars just to meet compliance with Transport Canada when it comes to lighting systems and so forth. This council and the appetite of the taxpayers, I think it's over to start putting money. This is business is called risky business. So what we do have is reinstate. We have the ability to tax. So that's our safeguard in remunerating or accepting revenue on a facility that's no longer going to be owned by a non-share community-based board. It's a private sector. But also saying that it's to his best interests to build a fire hall, to increase the crash fire rescue at the airport. But you got to remember, there is a partnership that exists with the airport authority in its current hands, and it will have to exist in the future hands of the Diamond Group and the Greater NL Partnership, because we provide fire protection to the airport. So he has to comply with the wishes of the town, because it costs us $1 million a year for fire protection in our town. And I am so glad we do have a full-time fire department and spending that money, because it is very important. But having said that, we're just very fortunate that our fire department is within equal time points to meet Transport Canada regulatory, that they can actually respond to an airport. So actually, it actually saves the airport money, but it actually doesn't cost the town any additional money. So the tax regime is our safeguard. A corporate guarantee is what the board has asked, recommended from their legal counsel. Through our management team and through the direction of council, we had to seek our own legal counsel on this, and the opinion was that in its appropriateness, that we could sign this without technically handcuffing the town of Stephenville. And it's a step forward for the town, and I wish all the successes. I'm very confident that the airport will be very, very successful. It's not just Carl Diamond and his initiatives on drone technology, which is the future in aviation, but it's also the announcement from Mr. John Risley and his team about turning Stephenville into a green energy hub with a hydrogen plant, with massive wind farms. And this is going to create upwards to thousands of jobs just on that side of the equation, which will actually create a demand on our airport, but it'll actually create a business model for the airport. So all of these are benefits. This is being proactive. This is being positive, and it's in some ways it's also a leap of faith, because as I kick back and say, from my background in business, there's no guarantee in business. You can get an environmental or a regulatory thing come down from the federal government and could change the water on the beans. And that's the risk you take in business. So good debate, good comments. So we do have a motion. We do have a seconder. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, no, not I.
Okay, just for clarity, we have all ayes, contramine, one contramine noted. Motion carried, and we can ask Councillor Tracy Boland to return to the table.
You want me to open the door?
Colin's getting an exercise, I tell you.
Tell you what,
I can tell you
a lot
what.
of-
You're wearing your Fitbit, man.
6,000 dollars right here.
Okay, is there anything late on planning? That was the last
That's
item.
the last item for
Okay.
planning, Mr. Mayor.
No bylaws and regulations, Mr. Manager?
Not that I know.
Any unfinished business? Any new business?
I don't think this falls under new business, but I, as a counselor also, since Colin has become our new town manager, I want to thank you very much for all the work that you're putting in and leading this council forward. I really appreciate it. So thank you on my behalf.
And I have something from new business. I just want everybody to know that there's going to be a music festival under the SPCA on Friday, July 22nd, and the gates open at 7 p.m. We have 5 amazing local bands lined up. So hopefully everybody will be able to get out and make it. It's $20 a ticket, and they're located at Burnt Shoe Store, the Paint Shop, and
Debbie's video?
Debbie's Video.
Yeah.
And you might see me and Tracy,
The 22nd of July is the Steel Music Fest.
and Tracy's gonna put me in charge of security.
Well, look out. Look out.
They rule it.
Yeah,
When I
Couple
put
of
that
things.
vest on,
Sure.
watch out.
I'm really surprised that we're not hearing anything from our NHA on the courthouse issue.
Here.
You know, what is going on? Me, for one, I'm totally against that move to renovate an old building 60 years old and not give us a courthouse that were promised in 2014 by the premier at the time, Tom Marshall. Is all the same money. And they're telling us it's going to cost more. Nobody knows how much it's going to cost to renovate that vocational school until they start doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When the new hospital was looking at to be built, the engineers came out and went through the hospital, and I was working there, so I know what I'm saying. When you go down in the basement, you're walking in ground. I mean, you know, and the boilers are ready to go and all that stuff. It would cost $26 million at the time to renovate that old building full of asbestos and everything else. So the administrator at the time said, "Oh, we don't need new." I said, "Yes, we do." I said, "When you goes now, we're going to get it." So when the new person came on, the administrator, plans went right away, fast as they could go to get that new hospital built. Now, granted, they had a good MHA too, and a good minister in the government,
Yes.
right? So it took about 15 years, and I took a lot of flack. When's the hospital being built? Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, we did get the new hospital, and they had to, the minister at the time had to take a 50-bed hospital, because if he wanted to get a 50-bed hospital, they wouldn't be able to have a kitchen. They wouldn't be able to do a kitchen. Well, the minister said, well, there will be a cafeteria. There might not be no kitchen, but there will be a cafeteria. But you know what happened with the cafeteria anyway. But so that the hospital got built, and you know, even the mayor of Cornerbrook at the time, Charles Pender, was against that hospital being built. But don't you worry, I had my I talked to him too. And didn't want it by there. So I had them come out. I said to Mayor Stein, I said, listen, we got to get the town council of Cornbrook to come out, city council, and go through the hospital and see why we want new buildings.
Yeah.
Outlived its use. Well, oh no, he thought it was right. But a few months went by and he suggested it. So they came out, we had luncheon and everything. And I made sure they went down the basement and bend down like that to go down there in the ground and everything else. So anyway, we got the hospital built. So in my opinion, the money would have been better spent by putting it in Bay St. George Long-Term Care Center. That building was built like in the 1970s and it's deplorable.
It is.
Terrible. So, you know, I don't know why RMHA is not talking about it.
Should probably reach out to the MHA and to the minister and maybe request a cost comparison of what it costs to renovate that compared to what it will cost to construct a new
Well,
structure.
Apparently they figured it out already, Tristan, because Lenny sent me some information.
Hmm.
And they're saying how much more expensive it would be to build a new building as opposed to but
Did they send you a certified engineer draft?
no.
Yeah, request that.
So, you know,
Can I,
well, that's what we should do.
So
And they're not gonna save no money anyway.
No.
It's gonna cost them money by the time they got
And the accessibility.
the accessibility,
why don't we,
you know?
why don't we reach out to our MHA and ask the MHA to set up a meeting with the Minister of Transportation that we can ask the very valid questions that was discussed tonight on that. So can we give a direction to our manager to reach out to our MHA?
Susan would like
you
to make a
have
comment.
oh, yes, but I think in addition, we need to perhaps include maybe the Minister of Justice or something, because there's a bigger piece to this puzzle, and that is that I think there was a bureaucratic decision made based on, architectural designs and empty buildings that never included a discussion about the people who are served by the building. And so the people who work at the courthouse and provide services around court functions, RCMP, parole, probation, and all of those people were not consulted in that decision. And if you talk to those people, there are a whole host of reasons why it should not be moved away from the services that exist here, like the RCMP and so on, right?
On
So
top of that,
there's a huge picture here. It's another, I think, bad decision based on someone sitting in their silo with a ruler, measuring something sent to them by someone sitting in their silo, and nobody had any idea about what happens in that building that they're measuring. And that needs to become part of how government discusses things. And I think we should hold our feet to the fire on that.
yeah, then you've got Department of Motor Registration coupled with Department of Transportation and Works. I mean, are they gonna stay here? Are they gonna move out there as well? So you're really talking about moving a lot of people, again, not trying to siphon anything from the crossing, but the hub, the center is here. So to remove accessibility from the general populace in the service center and move it, unfortunately, in the wintertime to some treacherous traveling conditions, it doesn't increase accessibility at all, in my opinion. It really takes away now, not only for the people that use the services, but for the people as well that provide the services.
Absolutely.
So,
And Tristan, the other piece, if I might interrupt again, sorry, is, I've lost my train of thought from interrupting there. Now, that's pretty good. What were you
I'll
just
jump
saying?
there,
about
Sue.
that? Yeah, okay.
One thing I want to say too, when we wrote the Premier and the Minister of Justice and the MHA, one thing we did cite in that letter was that it's not good leadership on a political level when they make moves that pins one small community against another.
Yeah.
They're taking something from one small
Yeah.
and give to another. We're trying to work as a region, trying to work with our community. And I wish all the support for the town of Steamboat Crossing to grow. But if the Premier and his cabinet and the MHAs want to show what their ability really is, they should take a little piece of Confederation Building and take one of those divisions and move that to Steamboat Crossing. Because, you know, they've done it before with the college headquarters, with the library headquarters, when they were decentralizing. That's what they need to do, decentralize. But when you take from one little community, give to another, not good,
No,
not good.
no, that was a bad move.
Yeah.
No,
So-
and that's what I was gonna say, Tom. Actually, it was about the crossing.
I read your mind.
It
If you
was,
could read
but-
my mind, it sounds like a song.
It
You're
is, yeah.
spending too much time with her in the woods.
Okay,
But
So,
it's,
on
but
that
that's
note,
exactly
we'll,
it. It's not about the crossing and not wanting them to be successful and have things and so on. It's about making wrong decisions and moving things and then having to back out of that. You know, so I would like to know what the rationale was beyond the fact that they had an empty building, because there's lots of empty buildings.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got the land for them to
Yep.
build. They own the land.
When the A-tips went in, it went into both justice and transportation and works to try to encompass everybody involved, so I think it would be important to have ministers there.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
Minister, Premier Fury told me he's coming out early August,
is he? Okay.
so we should get a meeting.
Oh,
when he
definitely.
comes
Yes,
We'll meet.
absolutely. We should remind them that Stephenville is just past Cornerbrook. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
Well,
Out loud.
We'll send in our best bus to pick them
Yeah.
up.
But aside from that, that's one thing. And the second thing is the medical clinic.
Yeah.
That we got to keep on that. When we have that
Yes.
meeting with Dr. Rajli again.
Well,
you know,
we're
that got,
meeting,
you know.
we're meeting again on the 11th. Dr. Ashley was supposed to get us a set of blueprints and plans of a model,
Yeah,
renderings of what a new medical clinic. So let's put the pressure on them to get that, because we did talk about that, and
Yeah.
let's look at moving on that.
I was talking to him today
Okay.
and I didn't bring up the clinic because I was too frustrated and I was
Yeah.
bringing up too many other things, but he did say that, he was going to be at that meeting on the 24th,
perfect.
Dr. Dennis Rajli, yeah.
Yeah.
And before I finish up, just a personal thing, Aaron Gallant passed away, a businessman, longtime businessman in the town, at the age of 94.
Wow.
And he, according to the obituary, he, I think he was one of the first firefighters that the fire
Is that right?
people that started here and
Wow.
fought the church, the Catholic Church when
1969.
it burnt, yes, and a very avid, as you know, outdoorsman and everything else, so another
Big loss to our
big
community.
loss to the community,
A
yeah.
big business legacy.
Yeah.
That still continues, the Gallant legacy in business, so.
Yeah, well, it's good that goes on, yeah.
Thanks for mentioning that. I didn't hear, but our condolences to the Gallant family on that. On that note, I would ask for an adjournment of the meeting. Moved by Councilor Larry Taylor, seconded. Second, Councilor Tracy Rowland, all in favor.
Aye.
It is 8:12. On meeting. Okay, we want to thank everybody for zooming into our meeting through electronic media. Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow, enjoy your time.
No problem. I'm coming back on again now.